Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Magic, and today we have a special guest on the channel. We have Sal the Saiyan. Say what's up, Sal.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Salajin here, and I am so happy to be here on this channel.
All right, and today we're going to be talking about the Dragon Ball Z dub versus Dragon Ball Kai. Or, sorry, not dub, just Dragon Ball Z versus Dragon Ball Kai in general. So, first, I want to get so that you guys have the layout of how me and Sal first got into Dragon Ball. So I'm gonna let him explain that first.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, this is just kind of let you guys know, like, how we stand, how we grew up with, what our background is, because if we say a certain thing, you're gonna say, "Oh, you hate such and such because you're such and such hater," because I don't know. So I feel like it's kind of important to just kind of state our background on it, just so that way you know there's no bias in any way, really, or know where bias is.
Yeah, and the Dragon Ball Z original version versus Kai has been a debate for years now, since Kai came out in, what was it, like 2009?
Yeah, 2009. I think it came out in the United States.
Yeah.
I think 2008 it came out in Japan.
Yes,
I'm not
and
100%.
ever since then, or at least since Kai stopped after the Cell Saga, people have just been saying, "Oh, it's nowhere close," or "It's inferior to the Z." So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So again, I'm going to let Sal explain how he originally was introduced to Dragon Ball, and then I'll go after that.
Yeah, so I didn't, like, unlike a lot of people, I didn't grow up in the Toonami era. My brothers did. One of my brothers grew up in the pre-Toonami era, where he kind of he saw a little bit of the Ocean dub, then he got into it, and then he watched it all in Japanese. So then my other brother grew up on Toonami. So they all grew up on that. Then they introduced me to it kind of over time. I knew what it was, but I didn't really know what it was. But then my oldest brother brought me to Best Buy, and we bought the Season 6 of the Dragon Ball Z Orange Bricks, which is the Cell games, for those who don't know. The Orange Brick release is not very good, so if you're going to go buy a release, don't buy that one. But, we didn't know. So,
Well, that's pretty much all yet, was the most readily available at that time too.
Oh, yeah, it still is
everywhere.
very available. It's cheap, and it's everywhere. So, I mean, obviously, it was a good release for that. But it was cheap. If I would have known what the Dragon boxes were, I would have got them.
Yeah,
They were
and
$40
had you known what the
not,
quality you could have got was,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, I don't have that issue now because I just went out and
Exactly.
I bought all the Dragon boxes, but I spent a lot more than I could have then.
Mm.
But, so I got into I watched the Cell games. I watched it. Now, it's weird, most people grew up with the dub when they watched it with Falconer and all this stuff. I watched the dub with Kikuchi on the blue, not the blue, the Orange Bricks. And I liked it a lot. I loved it. My first fight was Goku versus Gohan in the Room of Spirit and Time / Hyperbolic Time Chamber. And I thought that was awesome. And, that got me hooked. Then, the whole Cell games, Goku versus Cell and Gohan versus Cell and all that stuff was really awesome. And then I went back, bought the rest of the Orange Bricks, watched all of that, watched Dragon Ball on the blue bricks and GT on the green bricks, and got into it. Then, literally a few months later, I see a promotional thing for... I got into all of it and watched it all within a few months. Then a few months later, I see a promotional thing for Dragon Ball Z Kai coming to Nicktoons, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, damn, coming onto Nicktoons where everybody my age watches this thing, and now it's going to be something that I like that nobody else liked before. So I was really excited for that, and watched Kai. Was a little confused because I thought at first, I didn't understand the concept of a redub. I thought it was just cut up pieces of the Dragon Ball Z dub, because I noticed Goku's voice was the same, some voices were the same, and I thought they replaced some of the voices. And I didn't like some of the voices at first. I didn't like Chris Ayres as Frieza. I didn't like... I used to like Stephanie Nzolmi as Gohan, but I didn't like Colleen Clickenbeard. But, now I've obviously changed my perspective on that. But when I first got into it, I didn't like that stuff. I didn't like the music. I liked Kikuchi a lot better. So then, obviously, I learned over time, as I became a fan for more years and years, that stuff was fine, and I learned the reason behind all that, and now I kind of like all of it. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it. So
yeah,
you tell us.
Yeah, that's I mean that's how a lot of people, at least in our generation, like first saw Dragon Ball. Like the first experience, we weren't part of the early Toonami, like Dragon Ball age. We were kind of like towards the beginning of the renaissance of when Dragon Ball started. Again, is whenever a lot of new modern fans first saw Dragon Ball, because by 2009 Dragon Ball wasn't really as popular of a franchise as it was like in 99 and 2000. So at least my first experience when it came to Dragon Ball was with my older brother as well, but mine didn't really have anything to do with watching it in general. It actually had something to do with an action figure that, since me and my brother, like my older brother, we lived in different houses, I kind of got his hand-me-down things, and I got a Super Saiyan 3 Goku action figure, and I didn't know what it was, but I kind of like, I saw it, and I was like, this is like the coolest looking thing that I've ever seen, right? So I was like, all right, now I want to figure out what this is, but then after a couple of years, forgetting about the toy and then finding it again, and then I saw the Dragon Ball Kai, like I saw a Nicktoons ad for Kai. Like I didn't see it on Toonzai when it was on the CW, but like whenever they put it on Nicktoons, I saw an ad for it, and I was like, dude, like that's what it was. And then that's when it kind of started, is after I watched that, then I found the orange bricks. My older brother had them, so then of course he let me watch those. And then for the longest time, I didn't even know that there was anything before Dragon Ball Z. But then I found Dragon Ball, which to this day is still, I honestly, if you asked me right now, I think I still like it kind of more than Z and GT. But that's,
I agree. I just want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I completely agree. I mean, I think Dragon Ball as a whole, the storytelling is much better, especially if you even look at the manga. That whole section is so much better. I mean, the comedy is better. I mean, obviously there's some really, like, the anime really drags on some points, where, especially during the Red Ribbon
I was
arc.
just about to say that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's honestly a big part of this Kai versus Z debate is the filler, but we'll get into that later, I guess.
It's, yeah, no, I think that Dragon Ball, the original before Z, which a lot of people still, like we've said, a lot of people, it's overlooked because a lot of people don't even know it exists. But if a lot of people, when they go back and watch it, they see that it's actually really good, or just as good as people remember Z. So that's kind of how I got into Dragon Ball, and now I've watched almost everything under the sun, so yeah, so now we're going to get into dub versus dub. So right now, in this section, we're going to be talking about the original Dragon Ball Z dub that Funimation did in the 90s, and then the Kai dub. So first, I'm going to let Sal give his opinion on what things that he likes that they did, and then maybe some things that he likes that they did in the original version.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm just going to kind of put this, like, I don't know how to really give this to you guys.
Just let them have
might hit some really, really sensitive spots for some people, but the Dragon Ball Z dub, if you want to be a hardcore fan and you want to, like, actually have a legit opinion, if you've only seen the Dragon Ball Z English dub, your opinion doesn't matter. Like, you cannot argue facts with that dub. I'm sorry. Now, obviously, I'm attacking people, but basically, to make a long story short, the dub is basically just very inaccurate to the original version.
And we're talking about the Z dub right now.
The Z dub, not Kai. I'm talking about Dragon Ball, the one from the 90s with Bruce Falconer, and even on the Orange Bricks when they put Kikuchi over it. And, it's very inaccurate. This is a quote from Chris Sabat on Twitter, the voice of Vegeta, Piccolo, Mr. Popo, Yamcha, all those people.
I'll make sure to put it up on the screen as well.
Yeah, so he says, the original dub is for nostalgia. The Kai dub is way better for accuracy, writing, acting, and overall quality. And Sabat definitely isn't the only one who thinks that. I've heard Sean Schemmel say this. I've heard everybody say it. Now, the Z-dub, if you want to watch it, if you want to introduce somebody to Dragon Ball and you want to show it to them, whatever. I have no issue with that. If you're showing your child that, if you're showing your girlfriend that, whatever, it doesn't, like, that's fine. But if you want to be, like, a hardcore fan and really know, like, what it, like, that, it's just not, there's actual plot points that get changed, like, the characterization changes. Like, even in Kai, where it's basically 99% accurate, some of the characterization is a lot different, like, where, and I noticed this was a really interesting point. I forgot who brought this up. This may have been Myster Fusion or Therese on Twitter. One of them brought it up. Was that in the original Japanese version, different characters refer to Goku as different things. Like Piccolo refers to him as Son, and like different people refer to him as different things, and it kind of gives you a little bit into how their relationship with him is. Like how Bulma calls him Sun-kun, like it shows like she kind of still sees him as the same person he was as when he was a child.
Yeah, it's
where in
it's definitely
the dub everybody just calls him Goku.
Yeah,
and then the only difference is Vegeta with Kakarot.
Yeah, and he's, I mean, it's different. At least with what I know from the Japanese language, is there's different things that they put with the name, and that's kind of like a thing of.
Yeah, I mean, there's the honorifics and all that, but like, you know, it kind of takes away from the characterization. Obviously, there's not much that the dub can do to make up for that, but you know, it is what it is. I'm just letting everybody know from that perspective. But also other things like they'll just throw in these random lines that, you know, don't really like make sense. Like one line is like in the Frieza arc. They have like this whole thing where Frieza's in the Japanese version, he's laughing, just laughing. In the English dub, I'll do my best Linda Young voice.
Okay, let's listen to this.
All right, let me think of the line. There's something along the lines of this. It was, "Allow me to tell you something in my native language."
Oh my god!
Something like that. And it's like something like random. And it was just Frieza laughing in the Japanese version, and they dubbed over it with Frieza saying like, it's like, it means let's get down to business, or like something like that. But yeah, so basically the Z-dub is not accurate really in any way. It changes a lot of things, a lot of plot points. There's a lot of censorship, really a lot of censorship, especially even if you look at Dragon Ball, not just Z. The Dragon Ball version and GT, like GT does this really bad too, where they make Goku out to be this heroic character. Like there's this point where in like even Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, like they'll be like they'll have a quote where Super Saiyan 4 Goku will be like giving this whole speech about when you do bad things to people, you know, you have to pay and all this, that, and like in the Japanese version he's just like, yeah, you're not going to be able to beat me like anymore, like something like you know, like something like that. Like I think that was with Gogeta where they said that, where he's like giving the speech like, yeah, you've done so many bad things, now you're going to pay. And then like in the Japanese version it's just like, dude, you can't land a hit on me. You're screwed.
Yeah, it definitely, you can tell that they were at least with GT. I know we're not really talking about that in this video, but in that the
dub is from the same era, so it's the same principle.
I'm speaking as if like who they're catering to. With GT, they're also catering like by I think you've probably heard this before, is when they turn Goku back into a kid, it's because they're trying to cater to children also, like wanting to watch it because they can relate to a kid character. So I feel like some of those changes too is kind of like they're trying to cater to children instead of...
Yes, of course with GT, but they were trying to cater to children with Z
with
well.
Z too.
Like,
yeah, well,
even Goku's most famous line, if you asked like any Dragon Ball Z fan who grew up with it in dub and Toonami, like one of their favorite moments would be his "I am the hope of the universe" speech. Like that whole thing is just completely fabricated. Like that whole that's not Goku's character. That's the real version. He's just like,
and
they're
really just trying to make him a superhero.
Exactly, and that's not what Goku is. Goku's a good guy. He is not a bad guy.
He cares about his friends and the Earth and everything, but
he's not like
Superman. You know
what actually really sums up his character? This is a line from Dragon Ball Super. If you remember in episode 130, when he's fighting Jiren, and he's like, "I'm not any hero of justice or anything, but like if anybody like hurts my friends, like you're gonna pay."
Yeah.
Like that's what Goku is. He's not. Ally to good, nightmare to you.
Exactly.
Like that's not what he is. So the Z dub basically botches Goku's character, where the Kai dub is accurate to his original character. They keep everything, even the Hope of the Universe speech. They keep it like 100% real. Sean Schemmel even requested that he use Son Goku. Like he says that in Kai just for that one line. They don't use Son for anything else, but they use it there, and I think that's a really nice touch.
Yeah, it is, and I referenced the Son part in my video earlier. This is a cheap plug. Sorry about this. Yeah, well, actually,
no, it's totally fine.
But I did a video on Bulma's last name where I also explained what Son actually means, so that's part in there too. So I'll link that after the video. But all right.
Hell yeah.
So, what do we think is the best way to start off watching Dragon Ball? Say you're somebody who's never watched Dragon Ball before, and you hear everybody talking about it. Are you going to be watching? Say we're talking about English right now.
Yes.
If we're watching it in English, am I watching the original Z dub or the Kai dub?
If you're watching it in English, you have to watch it with Kai. Like if you want to be a hardcore fan, at least, it's shorter. It's more accurate. You're going to get the right picture. You're going to understand the characters better. It's better acted. I mean, the music... I really don't think... I think if you take the nostalgia goggles off, guys, even the Kikuchi replacement score is better than the Falconer soundtrack. It isn't fitting to what Dragon Ball is. The music by itself, I have no issue with. I think it's actually kind of cool music. But I just don't... I think maybe some of the tracks are fitting, but not any more fitting than Kikuchi. So I feel like you're going to have to go with Kai for that if you're just sticking to the English side. And it's not even a debate, in my opinion.
It's honestly not even close. Dragon Ball Z, the original one, you can keep the nostalgia goggles on if you want. But if you take it off when you look at it, it was pretty much made in a time where there was some very questionable decisions made to change things in it. And it was trying to cater more to making it a children's cartoon show instead of actually sticking to the source material from the native country where it came from. And Kai definitely makes it way better by cutting down the filler. Like, there's still filler in Kai. We're not saying that there isn't, but it's more accurate to the manga, even though not completely. And if you're watching it in English, if you compare the voices from the original Funimation dub to it being redubbed in 2009 when it came out, which the actors then had 10 plus years of experience to work in the voice acting field, it's a no-brainer that Kai is definitely the definitive version that you should watch if you're wanting to watch it in English and you're just getting into Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at like the characters, like the actual characters, like specific characters, like you look at Sean Schemmel's Goku, how he changed so much. Like if you're looking from like the Frieza arc and the Android arc of Z to what he was in the Frieza arc and Android arc of Kai, like I mean, he sounded really like I mean, I think Sean Schemmel's a great voice actor, especially now. But back then, like, it sounded corny.
Well, it's very corny, and from what we've listened to in the past or whatever, he was basically told to try to replicate the
Peter Columbus.
the Ocean dub, which really painted Goku as some
Vegeta's
superhero.
voice as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But Vegeta, even Chris Sabat, like they formed their own identities in Kai. I think it's great because in the original Z dub, Vegeta sounds more like he has like this like that type of voice, like where he's trying to replicate Brian Drummond from the Ocean dub. But then you look at Kai and Super, he sounds, and even in the Buu arc of Z, if you really want to go there, but I think he obviously got better over time. He's more he has a more of his own voice, and it's a consistent voice, whereas the voice changes a lot in Z.
Yeah, exactly. Like, having to replicate somebody is really hard in general, but I feel that they saw the success that it had originally, so that's why they made them do that. But it's great now because you can watch Z and you can see that, but then towards the end of the original Z dub, you can see them start to get, like, form their own characters, but then they just go all out in Kai. And make
Kai, they really had a lot of pride.
Yeah, they make it their own, and that's great. All right, so now we're gonna get down to it. We're gonna be talking about the Kai sub versus the Kai dub, the one everybody wants to know. If you're trying to go full Japanese Dragon Ball, which one are we gonna be watching?
Yeah, so I personally feel like with Kai, you can go either way, because the dub of Kai is great, and if anything, the sub of Kai took a step down from the quality of Z as far as the voice acting goes.
Well, because they also lost some people too.
Exactly, they lost a lot of voice actors, and the interest probably wasn't as high from like the enthusiasm. Because how many times? I mean, they dubbed the same thing over. They had no different goals really. Like the dub, they had the goal of let's make this as accurate and as well acted as possible because we did this when we were all rookies.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you talk about the sub, they're pretty much like, we had the definitive version, so we really don't need to change anything. But as the original Z dub is so looked down upon and has so many changes that make it almost ridiculous. The Kai dub had so much more to prove when they recorded
exactly
that.
And so there's no difference in music in either one. It's all the same. Now this really just comes down to which voices you prefer, if you want to watch it with subtitles or not, because obviously it's not going to be 100% accurate in the dub, but it's like the dub of Kai is, I would say, 95%
it's
accurate.
Pretty much the closest you're going to get.
Yeah, it's the closest as far as you're going to get for dubs. So if you like to watch a dub and you don't want to have to watch subtitles and you want to watch in your own language, you're totally fine watching Kai dubbed. There's no issue with that at all. If you want to watch it subtitled and you want 100% accuracy, go ahead and watch the sub version. If you like Masako Nozawa instead of Sean Schemmel, go ahead and watch the sub version. If you like Sean Schemmel instead of Masako Nozawa, watch this dub version. It just comes down
it's all
to
based on your preference.
Yep.
And hell, you know what? We shouldn't even be telling them to watch this. Watch both of them. Make your own decision.
Yeah, that's how I did it.
Yeah, I've seen both versions, and that's why we're able to sit here and talk about it, because we've taken the time to sit down and watch it, and they're both really good in their own right. So
yeah, they all have a lot of positives.
So now we're gonna get into just what we really think. What is, out of Kai sub and Kai dub, or Z sub and Z dub, what should we watch?
Yeah, just Dragon Ball Z versus Dragon Ball Z Kai.
So I think that if you hear about everybody talking about the good old 90s or whatever, old 90s, early 2000s Dragon Ball, and you really want to watch the original Z dub, go for it. Go get Funimation or whatever and try it out. And then, but with Kai,
I just want to warn everybody, because if you want to go watch the Z dub from the one you grew up with, it's not going to be on Funimation. The Funimation dub that they have has the Kikuchi soundtrack.
It has the Kikuchi soundtrack. It's not going to be the Toonami Bruce Falconer version.
And the dub is actually not even the same. They did a redub where the script is basically the same, but it's just voice acting's a step up.
Yeah, but it's still not what I would call Kai level of voice acting, at least for the English
not even
version.
close. Not even in the ballpark.
So for me, I'm gonna say that the best bet would be to go with Kai, and you can watch it subbed or dubbed, but I believe that the dub cast did a fantastic job on the Kai dub, and that's not knocking the Japanese voice actors, because they're all great in their own right. But I'm just saying, if somebody is just now getting into Dragon Ball and they're just wanting to relax and watch it, it's all dependent on their preference, but definitely go with Kai over Z.
I mean, I can understand that, and I just feel like I want to kind of explain the other side, the other perspective to that, where it would be pro Z. So Z, obviously Kai, one thing people like is that it takes out the filler. It takes out a lot of bad filler, which, you know, there is a lot of bad filler. There's the whole Frieza fight taking 20-something episodes, which is ridiculous. There's a lot of bad filler arcs and stuff like that.
Oh,
like there's
they completely remove in dub. They completely removed the Garlic Jr. saga and the fake Namek arc. Like they're not in Kai.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they did, and that depends on what you want. Like, I hate the fake Namek stuff, but I actually don't mind the
Garlic Jr. Really, in my opinion, it has a bit of a story, and
it does, and it was different. I liked that they were trying to go in a different place. Maybe they should have introduced an original character, but I liked how it expanded upon the existing lore. It was characters besides Goku doing something, and, you know, it did something different. Then also there are other good filler arcs. Like, I think the Otherworld tournament is a really good filler arc.
And
I think
Kai,
Goku versus Pycon's awesome.
Yeah, and in Kai they only show the big.
Yeah, they give you a clip shot.
Give you the clip shot of it, but that's it. You don't really get to see it, and those are the things that, if we're talking about Z, if you want to go see it in, like, its full glory, definitely go back and watch Z if you want to see all the little things too.
Yeah, and to me, the biggest part of Z that you're missing out on is some of the character development that takes place in the Saiyan arc with Gohan and Piccolo. They have Gohan's training and all of his trials, like the episode where he's with the robot in the cave. I think that is an amazing episode. That's actually, fun fact, that's Masako Nozawa's favorite episode of Dragon Ball ever. I don't know if you knew that, but that's her favorite episode.
I had never heard that. That's actually pretty interesting.
That's her favorite episode, the episode Gohan and the robot.
It's definitely touching,
the episode, the episode with the orphans, I think is really amazing too. I think that those whole couple of episodes really, like, you're missing out if you're watching Kai. But on the flip side, you're missing out on a lot of bad things, like Bulma and the crab on Planet Namek, the fake Namek stuff. It just comes down to which arc. Like, I feel like if you're watching the Saiyan arc, I think Z's better. If you're watching the Frieza arc, I think Kai's better. So it really just comes down to, do you want to get through it as fast as possible?
Yeah,
I think, in my opinion.
Do you want to just see the story and get over with it, or do you want to see everything from start to finish, how originally they put it out and put the anime out? So
yeah, that really comes down to, like, if you have time and you're willing to watch it, like, a little more, like, I say go for Z. But if you're like someone who's like, no, I would rather watch as little filler as possible and just stick to the meat and potatoes of the story, I would go with Kai. Now, if you really want to get, like, the true story, I would say just forget the either anime and just go straight for the manga.
Just go to, well, I wouldn't even say Viz changes some things too, but if you're trying to go straight story, then just grab the mangas. I mean, they're not that expensive now, at least on Amazon. I know that you can get.
Depends on what release you want to buy.
Yeah, whatever release you want to buy. We can talk about that in a different video, comparing the different releases. But yeah.
So I mean, obviously, what it comes down to is really your personal preference. If you don't want to watch as much filler as possible, like, if you don't want to watch filler, watch Kai. If you care, like, obviously Kai has filler, but it's not going to have as much.
Yeah, but it's not bad. Obviously, they couldn't cut out all the filler because then things wouldn't make sense.
It would just not make sense,
But definitely, if you're trying to watch as little as possible, then you're not going to have to go see Goku and Piccolo get their driver's licenses. But
yeah, like me, I would love to see, like, if I'm doing a Dragon Ball rewatch, I'm watching Z 9 times out of 10.
Oh yeah, because of some of the ridiculous.
I want to see
Yeah.
Goku and Piccolo get their driver's license. This is, like that. Like, that's what I want to see as a fan. But some people don't want to see.
Yeah, some people don't want to see that, and
the actual story.
That's just where your preference comes down. Anyway, Sal, I want to thank you for being on the channel. Would you like to plug anything? Any new videos coming up? Any new projects?
Well, I mean, I got quite a few projects coming out. I mean, I'm working on it now. I'm not sure exactly when it'll be up, but I have and this is for power scaling people. This is going to be the nail in the coffin. Dragon Ball GT Goku versus Dragon Ball Super Goku. Like, I'm ending the debate. Like, it's gonna hurt a lot of people. Like, some fans will be hurt. And I'm not gonna say who wins because that would obviously
Yeah,
spoil
that's
the video.
spoiling it. Why would they go watch the video then?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really, it's gonna be an interesting video, and it's not even close. like the answer, it's like not even a debate. Like, I will put the nail in the coffin. So that's gonna be an interesting video that'll be coming up. Besides that, I got a few other ones, but obviously, I would just recommend subscribing to my channel.
Yeah, really. Yeah, make sure go subscribe to him. He has some great content, definitely some great videos. I'll also link his Twitter down below. He definitely posts some really awesome things that have to do with Dragon Ball. And yeah, I want to thank you again, Sal. And
of course, let's do it again.
Yeah, let's make sure that we do this again. All right, and to everybody else, I hope that you guys have a magic day.